This is the all-new Peugeot 508, and instead of wasting time telling you how good it looks, why don't we just enjoy some gratuitous beauty shots instead? So we'll start this review, as we always do, around the back with the boot. And despite the sporty saloon-like silhouette, the 508 is actually a liftback, which is great news for dog owners or anyone who appreciates the extra practicality that a good wide opening like this provides. It's also a pretty decent size at 487 litres, which makes it very slightly bigger than a Mazda 6 and an Audi A5 Sportback, although still quite a bit shy of the massive Skoda Superb and the Volkswagen Arteon. It also has a slight bit of a lip, but we'll forgive it that because it is quite small. And this one comes with this very handy boot liner, which I'm sure my fellow pet owners will agree is the best thing ever. There is nothing worse than trying to pick pet hair out of that felt stuff that's usually down here, so I really like that. We've also got a 12-volt charging socket, shopping bag hook, and then those seats also fold nice and flat. So it's a strong pass on this boot from me. Next up is what life is like for backseat passengers, and it's not bad really. Now, there's not loads of headroom thanks to that gorgeous sloping roofline, but legroom is actually quite good. That's my driving position, and I'm about 5'6", as you probably know by now. The transmission tunnel is actually quite low, so there is some legroom for a middle seat passenger if you want, but width-wise and comfort-wise, it is probably best left to kids, or definitely not more than 2 adults. In terms of other comfort features, you've got a pull-down centre armrest, complete with a couple of cup holders, a ski hatch for easy access into the boot. You've got nets in the back of the seats, storage in the doors, and then a couple of air vents, although you can't set the temperature individually. You've also got a couple of USB ports for charging, so pretty good all around. Now, the front of the cabin, I have to say, is pretty wow. I just love how interesting and modern it all feels, and it's got some really nice design touches too. I love these toggle switches along the infotainment system, and just the way all these different materials and angles knit together. It's also got a nice sporty wraparound feel for the driver too, which I really like. Now, it does come with this trademark tiny Peugeot steering wheel, which I know can be a bit Marmite in that people tend to either love it or hate it. Personally, I really like how it feels to use, but I'm not so keen on the way that it can obstruct your view of the instrument cluster, so I do find myself kind of peering over it rather than on most other cars where you can just kind of look through. And you definitely don't want your view of this instrument cluster obstructed because it is a really, really cool one. You've got lots of different settings there to change the way it looks and decide what information you want on display, and it's just executed really, really well. You've also got a 10-inch multimedia system complete with sat-nav and all the latest in smartphone connectivity. Now, as an operating system, it doesn't blow my mind. It's not that it's particularly tricky, it's just not got that instantly familiar feel to it either, but it does the job and it looks very well. That's all part of the Peugeot iCockpit, which comes as standard from the Allure model upwards. Now, there's 4 trim levels to choose from, and in general, equipment levels are excellent, even on the entry-level Active model, which comes with all of this, and I'm just going to put it up on the screen there so that you can pause for a closer look. But from memory, it includes things like a reversing camera, AGR comfort seats, and a huge amount of safety equipment as standard. You can upgrade to the Allure model to add all of this, or there's this very fancy GT line model, which adds tons of really nice GT line styling and comfort features that you didn't even know you needed, like iCockpit Amplify, which will change the ambience of the cabin via the lighting and driving dynamics depending on whether you want to relax or energize. And then there's loads more bits and bobs as well, like active cruise control, the GT line badging, wireless phone charging, and electrically adjustable leather memory seats, although I would really like to see these offered in a lighter colour, which would really lift the cabin because it is just a little bit on the dark side. There are 2 petrols and 4 diesels to choose from. And while there are plans for a plug-in hybrid before the end of the year, and indeed further electrification of the full range, Peugeot have emphasised their commitment to diesel and to a market where the customer will get to decide what fuel type is best for them, in the short to medium term anyway. This particular model is the 1.5 litre HDI diesel with 130 HP and an 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's definitely one of the more sensible and economic choices, with an average fuel economy of about 5.5 to 6 litres per 100 kilometres, which is pretty decent. There are a couple of higher powered 2-litre diesel options available, but to be honest, this one feels punchy enough, and there's a nice quick response from the throttle when you ask for it. It is a very comfortable car to drive, and while a lot of the other cars in this class are very much comfort based, it is actually quite good fun too. It's got a nice taut chassis and really tight handling. And I also think that this little dinky steering wheel gives it a really fun and sporty feel, even if the steering itself is a little bit on the light side. Now, you have got a drive mode selector to adjust the feel of that, so you can put it into sport mode, which will weighten it up a little bit and liven things up in general. Then you've also got normal mode and then eco for when you want to save a bit of fuel. The suspension in general feels pretty well judged, and the sound insulation is excellent, which makes for a very peaceful and very pleasant cabin. Prices start at €32,500 for the entry-level petrol, although can climb quite quickly as you move up through the trim levels and engine lineup. This 1.5-litre diesel GT line comes in at just over 40, and that is not cheap even if you do get an awful lot of car in return. As a package, the 508 is an extremely appealing one, but the only thing that could possibly hurt it is the fact that it's not an SUV or an EV yet. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, like and share if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe and join us back here next week where we will no doubt be back in an SUV/EV.